Welcome.
Welcome back to Bestie Book Chat. My name is Sarah.
I'm Veronica.
And today we're talking about A Court of Thorns and Roses, aka ACOTAR, the first book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series.
Woo woo.
So I've read this. I read this a long time ago, and I just introduced Veronica to this.
Yes, and I just got around to reading. You bought me the whole set at the end of reading a Throne of Glass series. You gifted it to me. So if you want to see me getting it, you go back to one of those videos. I don't know. I think it was the last one.
In part 2 of Kingdom of Ash.
So that's where we talk about that, and I get the box set. And I was told that if I read the first book, was not allowed to read the second book until we did this. So I read the book in a day and a half, and I've been waiting to do this so I can go home and read the second book. So here we are. I just finished it.
So tell me, overall feelings. What'd you think? What'd you rate it?
For as hyped up as it is, it was good. I liked it. It was very... I mean, I read it quick because it was one of those that kept going. I think it lives up to the hype. The story so far lives up to the hype that everybody gives it. Mm-hmm. So, I'm proud to say that.
Would you rate it?
I think I gave it a 5. It was I gave it a 5.
You gave it a 5 out of 5?
Yes, because
nice.
I liked it. So, I'm happy. But I have a lot of questions, and it's so hard to stay off of TikTok and all that because it always pops up. Yes, so I keep scrolling. Yes. So I don't know anything about it. This is the most
popular book, I think, on Book Talk, and avoiding spoilers for ACOTAR is almost impossible if you're on any type of...
So anytime they talk about anything remotely, I just scroll. I don't know any spoilers about it, thank God, because I didn't even know their names. That's how good I've gotten at ignoring it.
Okay.
So I didn't even know their names because I remember calling you or texting you. I'm like, how do you say these names? And I didn't want to look up how to say them because I was afraid it was going to show me.
Yeah.
Okay. But it was the same way with Throne of Glass. I felt like Assassin's Blade, I gave that that was one of my favorites. Was the first one.
So, what you're saying is that whenever I recommend you a book...
We start off strong.
It's a good recommendation.
Yes.
I recommended you Ice Planet Barbarians. You love that.
Do.
Recommended Throne of Glass. You love that.
Done.
And now you're starting ACOTAR and it's starting off strong. 5 out of 5.
Yeah. It. So if you need a book recommendation, go to this fool. Okay, so.
You can find me on Instagram.
And that's all you can find her on. TikTok, but she doesn't really post TikTok.
I have such a hard time posting on TikTok.
We're going to do we're going to do a breakdown of the book, the story.
So we're going to do a quick recap.
So people know that I actually read the thing.
Yeah.
So I will say I bought the graphic novel on Audible. The first part of it, or the first half, I don't want to say part, but the first half I did do it on the graphic novel, and then I
up to what part?
It wasn't the first because the graphic novel breaks it up because there's 2 parts in the graphic.
Yeah.
Audible. So I don't even think I read into the second one. It was still in the first one.
Okay.
So I don't know where it breaks it off. But,
did you like the graphic audiobook?
I did. It was hard to read them at the same time because they don't go together because you do the sounds when it's the wind is the wind, duh.
It's acting, yeah.
Yeah. But I did like that. I probably will go back and re-listen to it all.
ACOTAR actually decided to do the graphic audio for all
I do like them. And they said there's going to be more books getting the graphic audio.
They're doing a 4th wing for that.
Oh, they really aren't? They aren't. I did like them. I can appreciate it's easier to tell who's who and stuff like that. And
I like it as kind of a, if you're in a reading slump or something like that, I always like it because it's just, it's something familiar. It's not something that you have to super hyper focus up on.
Right.
So if you're listening to it at work, it's just, it's easy.
Yeah. The book starts off with our main girl, our homie. Feyre. I remember texting you. I go, is it Feyre or Fairy? But it's Feyre. She's hunting in the woods. She's doing her thing. We learned that her family used to be rich and now they're poor. So she's hunting essentially to get the food for the family. That's the job role that she's taken on, because we find out that it's her and her 2 sisters. She's the youngest. The mom passed. She was sick. She had a disease. And we find out that the dad has a limp.
Yeah. So after he made some bad investments, he owed people money, and then whenever they came to collect, he didn't have it, and they broke his kneecaps.
So
and Feyre had to watch, and
because the other two sisters ran into the room and weren't there. We learned that while she's hunting, she's having to go farther out to hunt because where she's going out to hunt now is closer to fairy territory.
Yeah.
And that was one of the questions I first asked you. I was like, wait, before I go for this, like, fairies are bad, according to, like, her. Like, the human world, fairies are bad.
Yeah.
Because I was like, let me just clear that up, because I'm kind of confused. We figure out there's a treaty that the fairies, well, the human and the fairy, that's what keeps them separate, is this wall, right? Yeah. There's just, like, this big-ass wall. So she's essentially up in this tree, and she's waiting for an animal or something to come by that she can shoot with her bow and arrow.
So she's archer.
But she has this one arrow that's made from ash tree or ash.
Yeah. It's an ashwood arrow, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the only type of... It's iron, and that can hurt fairies. She has this backup arrow just in case. So she sees this doe deer, and she's like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna kill this thing.
And this is really far into the winter too, so it's like
freezing cold.
Resources are very scarce.
Right. But she also notices that there's like this wolf. I think she says she notices like its eyes. Mm-hmm. She decides, you know what, I'm gonna kill it because that's also gonna give you a lot of food. The pelt, of course. So she shoots it. The first shot doesn't kill it. So she shoots it in the eye. The wolf doesn't attack her back. And she has to decide, am I going to take the wolf meat or the deer meat? So she ends up skinning the wolf, takes its pelt, takes the deer back, and then she takes it back to her house. Mm-hmm. And that's when you meet the sisters and the dad. Dad is kind of worthless, I feel like. He makes wood carvings, but like he never tries to go hunting. Nesta is kind of a bitch. Elaine, I feel, is kind of just there. So they go to the market because she's going to sell the pelts. And of course the sisters tag along because they know she's going to get money and they want the money. They want some of the money. Feyre quickly breaks off from the sisters because she's going to go try to sell the pelts. But this is when you kind of learn that, or I kind of realize there's different types of fairies, different species. Like some fairies are just disgusting and evil and some are like not. I do see why the humans are scared of fairies. She sells the stuff. They go to the house. They eat off this deer meat. Bellies are full. Seems like a great time. And then a big beast breaks into the door. He's like, whoosh. And this was actually a really good scene to listen to on the graphic audio. Because it was very like, who killed the wolf? I need to know. It's time to pay your debt because you killed him. He's a fairy. And everybody's like, oh, what? That's what they do. He questions them, wants to know why you killed this person. Eventually, Feyre's like, it's me. I did it. He pretty much gives you a choice. Like, either you die now or I take you with me. A life for a life. Of course, she agrees to go with him.
On their way back to the wall.
Yeah.
She's, like, asking him 101 questions.
Of course, because who wouldn't?
Like, everybody who's sane would do...
Right.
Knocked her out.
Yeah.
Not like physically, but
like... But he like puts her to sleep.
Yeah.
So then, this is the part where I got a little... It's like a whole like Beauty and the Beast moment.
Yes.
He's like, you're not my prisoner. You're gonna live here. But she notices it's just him. And then this is when we meet Lucian. Which Lucian is... I'm just gonna go his background even though we learn it. But he is from the Summer Court.
Nope.
No? He's Autumn. He's Autumn. Okay, he's in the Autumn Court. Because there's how many courts are there? I know there's 4.
Dawn, day, and night.
And then there's 4 seasons.
And then the 4 seasons.
So Lucian is there. He's Tamlin's BFF. He lives in the manor. We notice that Lucian is missing an eyeball. And he has a nasty scar. But we notice also too that when they go back, when he gets out of his beast form, goes to his human form, they all have like masquerade masks on. Yeah. And they're stuck. We learned that those are stuck on their faces. Yep. It's very Beauty and the Beast.
Very Beauty and the Beast.
Very. He's kind of a jerk, but I'm okay with that.
Tamlin?
No. Lucian's like a smartass.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's a smartass jerk, and I like that.
He's bored.
He's got attitude, right? Because he's bored. Feyre learns that there's like this blight that's called the Blight. It's a blight upon the fairylands that's releasing these like evil demon creatures throughout all the courts, and like we said, there's 7 courts.
Yeah.
And The only cause to mention at this time is this she. We don't know who this she is, but this person that we don't know her name, it's her fault that all this crap is happening.
So Farrah, when she gets there, she gets shown to her rooms. Tam was like, "You're not a prisoner." All this other nonsense. She's immediately like, "I'm gonna put on this tunic and pants because I plan on running away."
Right. So she's planning her escape. And then
even though like Tamlin said like your family would be taken care of, she's like, "I don't believe you because you're a fairy."
Right. Because she hates them. She does not like fairies. Yes. She hates them. Yes, so that was one of the things. So Farrah decides, after like learning about this blight and all that, she decides she's going to figure out things on her own. Mm-hmm. So then she goes of all people to Lucian because she's trying to get somebody to talk to Tam to let her go. Essentially, so she's like, "Oh, I'm going to go to Lucian because he has his."
And Lucian's like, "I have no intention of helping you."
Yeah,
because he's sassy.
He is, but he tells her about the
surreal
and how to trap it, and he says it in a way like, "But we wouldn't do that now, would we?" And she's like, "No, we wouldn't."
Not at all.
And she does, catches it. So this is where we learn more stuff. We learn Tamlin isn't just another fairy; he's one of the High Lords, and essentially he's the ruler of Spring Court. The Spring Court. She asks if there's no truly other way for her to get home, and he tells her if she wants to remain safe, she needs to stay with him at all times.
Yep, stay with the High Lord.
Stay with the High Lord. That's all she had to do. Stay with the High Lord.
It's really, really simple instructions.
Very simple rules.
Maybe kind of like don't hunt fairies in the forest as well, but like, you know.
But my thing was like simple rules. Like don't bring the gremlins after midnight. Don't, like, you know what I mean? Same thing. While she's interrogating him, those other creatures come, right?
The Nagas?
I forget their name. It's not a puka?
No, it was the Naga.
The puka's the other one that changed its face.
Yes, the puka's the one that lures her
Okay,
out.
so the Naga's
the one that are, like, hunting them down.
And then Tamlin shows up.
Tam shows up.
Tam shows up, kills the other two. This is one of the times she actually has a conversation with him, I think, kind of. Because he's been very weird this whole time. Yeah, he's been very weird with her.
He's just awkward. He's
awkward. Awkward trying to flirt. Awkward trying to be nice.
My favorite part, and I will reread this forever and ever, but whenever, like Lucian's like, you gotta put in some effort, bro. And he's like, Feyre, your hair looks clean.
Yes, that was good. He's very awkward. You don't know why he's so awkward with her until later on. But I was just like, oh, he's trying. Which was kind of weird because he should know how to talk to girls. She finally reveals to, like, Lucian. And I think she already did with Lucian. But now she's kind of telling Tam, like, her whole thing was to protect the sisters and the dad. Because that was the wish that the promise she made to the mom.
Right.
And so that's why she's, like, determined to go back to take care of them. And I think this was nice when Tamlin was like, you thought I would take their only source of, like, income and food without leaving them anything in replace. So she finds out that they're being taken care of better than what she could ever dream of. Like, I guess in our mind at that time, he's given them money, a place to live. He's given them all their riches back. This whole time, she's been wandering around the house, the mansion, looking at the paintings. And there's nobody in this mansion except for her, Lucian, and Alice. And Alice is like her helper. Like, we know there's people in the kitchen. Yeah, we know there's people in the kitchen, but you don't really see them. You don't see anybody except for them three. So, yes. So there's one night, and Tamlin's like, stay your ass in your room. Don't you come out. That's what he tells her pretty much, right? Just stay your ass in your room. And what does she do? She leaves her room. But she doesn't know why she's being yelled at to stay in her room.
Tamlin's not very forthcoming with information.
Well, I mean, I don't think he wants to be because...
I think it probably would have been pretty easy for him to be like, it's Calamai, this is the ritual, you need to stay in your room.
Right. So he doesn't.
She doesn't.
She doesn't stay in her room.
She's like, I'm crazy.
But she doesn't know why. So she hears the drums.
Yep.
So she starts following the drums. She starts walking. It's nighttime, and then she runs into, is it 3 people that find her?
3 fairies.
But then somebody shows up, and we don't know who it is.
So it's more that she's human. They can smell that she's human. They haven't seen a human in a while, but also, like, her presence at Calamai is also, in Fey world, a form of consent.
Yeah.
So it's like, she doesn't know what it is,
But she's about to.
She doesn't know what she's agreeing to, but the Fae that found her are like,
yeah.
What is this human girl doing?
Right.
Like we're gonna get into some trouble. So
yeah, but somebody shows up. We don't know who this person is. We just know it's a person at this point, and he pretty much scares the other ones away.
Mm-hmm. There you are. I've been looking for you.
Yeah, like hello. So they get away, and then at this point, I think Lucian finds her.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Lucian's like, fuck.
Lucian's like, oh my god, you're gonna get me in so much trouble. I feel bad for him.
He like puts her over her shoulder
and while she's runs and runs and puts her in the room and is like, do not come out. And
well, he's the one who actually explains what it is.
He's like, do not come out. And she's kind of like, why? What da, da, da. And he explains to her what's happening.
Finally, somebody explains to her what's happening.
And I do appreciate Lucian for that. Like, he's the one with more forthcoming with information.
Mm-hmm. He's got to imbue the earth with his spring seed
to get his magic back. Or to regenerate his magic. He's regenerating his magic to get build his power.
The spring court has to make sure that there's a lot of birth and regrowth, so it's basically a giant orgy.
Yeah. So he's trying to find like his mate, his maiden type thing. So
and there's women lined up just being like
for him. They're just like, we're ready.
Let's do this.
Yeah. And nobody knows who he's going to choose, so that's why everybody's like, waiting. But at this
point, like, Tamlin's kind of crushing on Feyre. Feyre's kind of crushing on Tamlin. So Lucian tells her, like...
You're going to screw everything up if you don't get out of here.
If Tamlin smells you, he's not going to be the same person, and he's going to do things you don't want him to do.
Exactly.
So you need to stay your ass inside and don't have your scent
essentially,
in
like,
there.
You're lucky I found you before he did. It's like...
Because she can still hear the drums.
Right. It's like there's a party happening in the backyard, but I'm not allowed to go. I have to go to bed. Mm-hmm. She, like, finally just is like, screw it, I'm getting up. Mm-hmm. And she gets up, she wanders around the mansion. It's not a castle. Is it a castle or a mansion? It's both.
Mansion.
The house. She's wandering around, and...
It's an estate.
It's an estate.
Palace.
Palaces, gardens. Is she in the kitchen? She's somewhere, and she runs into Tam Tam.
Bro.
And he's like...
he's all painted up.
There's some She kind of taunts him. There's some smears. She's taunting him.
There's some smears in some strategically placed areas.
Yeah, and she's pretty much like, I don't want your leftovers. Like, she's taunting him, and I thought that was hilarious. It's like, why are you taunting this man? Like, he's a fairy. He just went through this ritual.
At this point too.
You already got the warning from Lucian. So, anyways, he goes beast mode and bites the crap out of her neck.
Well, he also says, like, I could smell you.
Yeah.
I looked for you. I couldn't find you. Had to find another. And she's like, no, I don't want to hear that. It's gross. Yeah. That's not. This is bad flirting. Well, this is after this point, she starts wearing dresses.
Yeah, so she starts wearing the dresses.
To be a little bit more comfortable, wanting to be a little bit more feminine. I think, like, Lucian, the first time he sees her come down, like, in a dress, he's like, all right, I'm gonna go.
And then he's like, oh, she looks like a fairy. Like, she actually looks like a fae now. So what we didn't know up until now is Hopegore's been glamored. So she's not seeing everything that's happening. And this was, like, the funniest part. Because now we realize, like, this long-ass dinner table they've been sitting at was actually full of people. Like, there was people everywhere. Yeah. So she thinks she's being, like, sneaky, like, don't be suspicious.
Don't be suspicious.
And she's, like, obvious to everybody, but they're not saying anything. Poor fucking girl. And then... Like, and then we skipped the puka part. So there was a puka. It's a, type
she was
of creature.
In her room one night, she was looking out, and then saw her dad, and then went downstairs.
Screaming after him.
And she was, like, sneaking in the garden and jumping behind people, like...
Yeah.
It reminds me of that one scene in, like, Emperor's New Groove whenever Kronk is, like, trying to be, like, secretive, and he, like, goes up against her and he's like, nah.
Yeah.
And then, like, the two people walk by and, like, look at him.
Yeah.
It's that, but then we find out the puka is actually a type of fairy that will, like, eat your soul or something.
People are watching her, and I just thought that was so funny.
Yeah. So the site, like, allows her to see...
everything.
The spring court as it should be. She can see the rest of the fairies that...
Yeah, and she sees Alice how she really is, because she thought Alice was, like, in a human form, but Alice is more like a tree. It makes it sound like she has bark skin.
Yeah. And then...
what's the next big thing?
Tamlin throws a little party, and Feyre gets a little drunk.
Oh, that's right, the summer party. And she's drunk, and she's
Lucian's
dancing.
Like, whatever you do, don't drink the fairy wine.
And she's like, screw it, I'm drinking the fairy wine.
Feyre's like... This wine is delicious.
And she drinks lunch. She gets trashed. She gets
wasted. And then Tamlin plays the fiddle, which is
random. It just reminds me of like a cat playing the fiddle.
So he's playing the fiddle. She goes and dances for him. And then Lucian's like, I am so sorry. And then he's like, it's okay. I'll take care of her. So they go off. I think they have their first like actual kiss.
Yeah, they like each other.
As the moon rises or what have you.
So then the next day they have lunch. Everybody's hungover. No, I mean, in my mind, she's hungover. But they sensing somebody's coming. They grab her and they like glamour her to where she can't be seen, I guess. She's like behind a curtain or something. And this is where we meet Reese's Pieces.
Well, so she recognizes him, right?
Right, she recognizes him from the ritual.
Yeah. So Reese comes. I guess Tamlin senses his presence because they can do that. Mm-hmm. And that's whenever they decide to hide her. They hide her behind a curtain, glamour her, and then like Lucian kind of like stands in front of it to like
as if that's where he was always standing. And of course, where he's still talking about this she that we don't know who she is. But this is where we meet him, and I immediately was like, I like him. Like
Rhysand?
Yeah, I thought his character was going to be interesting. I'm waiting for more from his character because I think it's going to be interesting. But he ends up figuring out.
Wait until she finds out that he's the king of Hybern, guys.
What? Who's the king of Hybern?
Nobody.
What did you do? What did you do?
Nothing. Keep going.
You butthead. You said something.
No, I didn't.
I'm going to have to rewatch. He figures out that old girl's there.
Oh, girl.
Farrah's there because they're not hiding her very well. Let's face it, they're not.
So actually, I think the glamour was working for half a second, but then he senses her and he's like, "You dare glamour me?"
Yeah,
he gets all pissy.
Mad. But then we realize this is the girl.
Amarantha,
that's her. So he's essentially Amarantha's whore.
That's what they call him, yeah.
Yeah. He requests her name, and she gives off this name of Claire Bedard. That's her name, even though we know that's her name.
the first thing that she could think of, yeah.
And it's a girl she knew from home. Reese's Pieces pretty much makes the other two get on their knees and beg to not tell Amarantha about who she is. Because they know that if she finds out, she's going to want to take her. Yeah. And we still don't know why. We don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
We just know that this is bad. So then Tam decides he's going to send Farrah home.
Like his whole thing is keeping her safe. And
he wants to keep her safe. And then he puts her in the carriage. He tells her that he loves her. Like, oh my God, yes. But she didn't say back.
She doesn't say back.
And I was thinking, like, why did she say back? It would have been so easy. But I think she doesn't say back because I think if she does say it back, then she's not going to want to go.
I really like that Lucian was like, you're smarter than this.
Yeah.
Because she was.
And then she goes back to her sisters.
Yep.
And her dad, and they're rich, and they're...
Well, they're not at the shack, they're at a manor.
Yeah, so they're rich again.
And they got servants. They're quite happy.
Eventually we find out that Nesta... Because they were all glamored, but the glamour didn't work on Nesta.
Yeah.
Which I think is interesting because I feel like that's going to come into play later on. Because she thinks it's because she has the iron bracelet on, but Tam says that the iron doesn't work on us. It's really just the ash arrow thing that works. So,
this is significant.
So she ends up, Farrah ends up telling Nesta everything. She eventually finds out that Claire's family has been, like, killed. And it's rumored that Claire was taken by the fairies. And that's when it kind of clicks for Farrah that that's my fault. Because I gave the name. This is when she decides she's going to go back. Because she knows something's wrong. Because Lucian and Tamlin wouldn't have let that happen.
Yeah.
Finds her way back to the manor. And then this is where she sees Alice. And Alice is still there. The whole place is trashed. And this is where Alice pretty much tells the whole story of everything.
So Amarantha and the King of Hybern fought in the first war that ended in the treaty. Her sister was killed by a human, so she harbors a lot of hate for humans. Amarantha does. She steals all the High Lord's power and basically imprisons them under the mountain, and then curses the Spring Court because Tamlin never bought into her bullshit. Curses the Spring Court, and that's why they have the masks.
They're bound to the masks.
Yeah.
So that's what happens.
Yes.
So the only way Tamlin could get his people free and all that was he had to fall in love with the mortal, and she had to love him back, kind of like Beauty and the Beast. But she had to be a mortal that hated phase. Mm-hmm. And she had to kill somebody from his court unprovoked. Yes. So because of that, he was sending over the wall sentinels every day over the wall, and they would either come back, or if they didn't come back, he knew they died. But most of the time that they would die, it would be because like a hunter got him. Yeah. So he pretty much, it was like killing him to send his people off to death. Yeah. He didn't like doing that, obviously.
So he did that. He did that constantly for years, and then it was like this was like a last ditch effort.
Yeah. So we realized that the wolf, from the very beginning, let her kill him because he couldn't fight back because he knew that was in the. Alice is like, all you had to do was tell him that you loved him and we would be fine. But no, you stupid human, you couldn't say those 3 little words. Like,
again, this is why Lucian was like, you're smarter than this.
Yeah, like, what is wrong with you?
It's like, you see all the cues, and you're ignoring them.
Goes to the under the mountain.
So this is like part 2 of the book, and I think this is the most exciting part.
It is.
It's like a lot of the first part's like a lot of world building. We're getting to meet the characters, you know. Tamlin and Feyre are kind of falling in love, and she's going under the mountain to presumably save Tamlin, but also like save Claire.
But Claire's dead.
Well, she doesn't know that.
She doesn't know that. But she's trying to right that right, is what she's trying to do. And
right that wrong?
Right that wrong.
You said right that right.
Right that wrong. She wants to right that wrong, essentially, and she wants to save Tamlin as a last-ditch effort because, I mean, she realizes now that she loves him. Yeah. So she goes... And I don't know why this girl thought she was just going to walk in there and not be noticed. Like, dude, they're going to smell you.
I just thought it was funny that, like, she's sneaking around and, like, immediately got shut down. Yeah. It's like, that's how it should have happened. Just immediately.
Immediately, no. So, she gets caught by...
I think it's the ACOTAR.
Yeah, that creepy guy. The creepy one. So, she gets caught, and, of course, she's dragged up to the front.
Just immediately.
Like...
Thrown at Amarantha's feet.
Right.
Like, and guess who's sitting next to Amarantha?
Tamlin.
Just stoic. Still has his mask on.
Doesn't talk. Stoic.
No reaction.
I think because Amarantha's such...
Vindictive.
She's been a Fae for a while. She's bored. She's like, I'm going to give you 3 trials to get everything back. Because... Naturally, she should have just said, killed her and been done with it. But she's like, I'm going to give you 3 trials. If you pass these 3 trials... But what?
Okay, so she has the 3 trials. If you pass the 3 trials, at whatever point I'll, then I'll
So we got to go. So let's go back. So Alice tells her, before you go in there, there's some rules. 1, don't drink the wine.
Don't drink the wine.
Because it's not like the kind that you had at the party. Don't make any bargains with anybody.
Don't do that.
And don't trust your senses.
Don't trust anything.
And
what did she do? Immediately. Trust her senses.
No, she makes a bargain. Drinks the wine. Okay, so anyways. So it goes back. So then she goes to... which I think this is a thing with all fairies. I know I've seen this in other books. Like, when you make a bargain with a fairy, you have to be very... Precise because they will find a loophole. Yep. So she makes the bargain that... we'll do the 3 trials. When I beat you...
To prove her love for
Tamlin, I'll beat you. But you have to release everybody. Yeah. But then Amarantha's like, I'll do you one better. That, or I'm going to give you this riddle and you find out the answer.
And you solve it and then you don't have to do anything.
Immediately done.
Just immediately done.
Immediately done.
Okay, here's the riddle. There are those who seek me in a lifetime, but never we meet. And those I kiss, but who trample me beneath ungrateful feet. At times I seem to favor the clever and the fair, but I bless all those who are brave enough to dare. By large, by ministrations are soft-handed and sweet, but scorned I become a difficult beast to defeat. For though each of my strike lands a powerful blow, when I kill, I do it slow.
Okay,
how does this bitch not know?
Exactly. As soon as I read it, I was like, the answer was love. Like, immediately.
It was love.
I knew that just from, like, hearing the story from Alice.
So the first time I read this, when it comes to any book where there's, like, a song and they write out the full lyrics, or there's a riddle, or a poem and they write out the full poem, I skip it. 10,000% of the time, I skip it.
Why?
Because I don't care. Because I know if it's, especially with how they set it up, like, I'm reading this book. There's still 200 pages left. I don't need to read this riddle.
Yes, you do.
So what I did, after I figured out that she solved it, I went back and read it, and I was like, oh, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I never read it the first time, though.
No, you're the reason why I get on to my students. Don't skip the captions. Don't skip the footnotes. That's where the good information is.
Skipped it.
So I read it immediately. I immediately knew it was love, just because it pointed to that. Why didn't she? He's
every
all
time.
Well, like Tamlin's telling you that he loves you. Like, first of all, slow down, fool. How you love me so much? You barely talk to me. 2, the sister and Jurian, that was all about love. Mm-hmm. She couldn't kill Jurian because she knew that it would hurt her sister, and she loved her sister more than anything. Like, the underlying tone was love. So, and then if you didn't know, like, if you broke it down, it was love. But whatever.
But it's also like what Alice told you. It's like, if you had just said this.
Yeah, so it was love. We knew it was love, but whatever.
Yeah.
So naturally, she doesn't know the riddle.
Yeah. Well, and, like, poor Farah is also, like, poor illiterate human.
Oh yeah, back to that. She can't read. Oh my god.
She never went to school. They lost her money before she was able to be schooled. So, and then her sisters, who do know how to read, never taught her. And
then we learned that the trials are going to happen every full moon.
Yeah.
So she's there for 3 months. So she throws her in a dungeon until the first
till the first trial.
First trial, and she has to kill like this worm thing. I don't know how to say it. It's a worm. Mm-hmm. And she ends up doing it. She ends up killing it. She realizes like this worm is like, it relies on its sense of smell. So she ends up like normal worms. It's just poop. So she covers herself in the poop, and she ends up killing it by like placing a trap with the bones of the other people that were dead in there. Mm-hmm. So she places the trap. She ends up like throwing her shoulder out. Right? Is that when she breaks her shoulder?
So she falls back into the pit, and then her arm gets impaled.
Something's with her arm.
Yeah.
So it's her something gets dislocated.
She has a compound fracture.
Right. She has some kind of, her arm's like this. Okay, I just remember the scene is she's like, I did it, and she's like this, all busted up, and her arm's like just like.
She still threw the bone like a javelin at Amarantha's dumb face.
Yeah, and then she throws the bone at the face. So she ends up getting thrown back in her dungeon, and who shows up?
So, before this all happens, though, after she makes the deal with Amarantha, Farah's beaten to within an inch of her life.
Oh yeah,
she gets her nose broken, and before she's thrown in the dungeon, and then left there for about a month and not really fed regularly. So she's already
getting
being
like scraps with that has like. She's already pretty beaten down before she goes into this first trial.
And it takes Tamlin doesn't go to her because he's afraid that if he shows any type of affection, then that will just egg Amarantha on. Right. So Lucian eventually is able to sneak down there, but it's been a couple days, and heals her nose, and
he heals her enough to get by, but not enough to where it's obvious. Pretty much.
So after
the worm attack,
after that, Lucian, because during the trial, remember,
he's like, look to your left.
Yeah, Lucian warns her, and as a punishment for that, she made
Tamlin whip him.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Right, but and even back,
Tamlin whipped Lucian after Lucian warned Farah during the trial with the worm.
That's right. But even going back, back to more Lucian's background, the reason Lucian doesn't have an eye and the scar is because Amarantha did it to him.
Tore his eye out
because of Tamlin.
Oh, he said some smart words.
Yeah, he said some smart ass things. Lucian's brothers are there, but they're pieces of crap.
Yeah.
Because the whole reason Lucian left his court is because the dad killed his lover, wife. Well, not even. I don't know if it's gonna be his mate, but his
girl.
His girl, and so he left and sought refuge with Tamlin. Tamlin was forced to whip Lucian. Mm-hmm. Lucian didn't come and help her.
He wasn't able to.
Because he was trying to heal himself, because remember, all their powers are very low right now. Yeah. So he isn't really being able to heal himself, let alone escape to go. And of course he's being watched now.
Yeah.
So she's starting to get a fever, and of course she's human. You can't live.
And since she had the cut,
she's getting
she
infection.
was impaled or whatever. She has a pretty bad infection. She knows she's dying.
So here comes Reese's Pieces. I love Reese. Reese's Pieces. So he shows up. But of course, he's going to make a bargain. Not supposed to make bargains, but of course, here she goes. He kind of makes a point Lucian isn't down here. Looks like you have a fever.
You're about to die. He also takes the bone that's embedded in her skin and twists it.
And twists it and trying to get her to pretty much do.
Dick move.
So they come to the bargain that first I think he wanted 2 weeks out of the month. Like 2 weeks every month she was supposed to go to his court or wherever he's from. And then they ended up bargaining, and it ends up being 1 week that he gets to go, that she has to go with him because she realizes, I think now she knows he's from the night court. So he heals her, but then he leaves her with like this gnarly swirl tattoo on the area.
Yeah, he marks her with the
He marks her, and it has like an eyeball, right? Or
it has an eye in the center of her palm.
She's given like these random, like, I guess the Amaranth is just bored, so she's given her these random tasks. Like having to clean the floor with water, but it would just keep getting dirtier and dirtier.
Yeah, so whenever she first arrived and was thrown at Amarantha's feet, they were going to kill Lucian unless Feyre gave Amarantha her real name.
Yeah.
So Feyre, in order to save Lucian, gave Amarantha her real name.
Yeah.
And so the Lady of the Autumn Court
comes to help her with the task. So she doesn't get beaten further. Right. And she's like,
as a thank you for saving
her
son's life.
And then she gets another task where she has to go pick lentils out of the ashes in the fireplace. Turns out that this is Rhysand's room, and so he does his little magic and is able to do it for her.
He's like,
He's like, this is boring to me. I'm done.
Yeah.
But then this is when we get to the part where he's like, you're gonna be my date
to these parties.
To these parties that happen every night. And each night he pretty much like has her dressed up, and she's painted solid like in these colors, so that way he knows if anybody touched her because then the paint would smear.
Yeah.
So he takes her every night, gives her the wine, and she's pretty much drugged and just acts a freaking fool and dances.
Well, she doesn't remember it.
She doesn't remember it, but we know. I think the funny thing is Lucian finally shows up and he's like, why? And she's like, dude, I was dying and you were nowhere to be found. And so he's like, yeah, you were dancing. She's like, what kind of dancing? He's like, not the kind of dancing you were doing with Tamlin before. And she's like, oh my god. So she's completely embarrassed. But I think eventually she just starts doing it because...
Well, she's drinking the wine so she can forget.
It's an escape.
She's basically being tortured for 3 months.
She's still trying to solve the riddle.
Yeah, so at the beginning of each trial, Amarantha asks if she solves the riddle.
Yeah,
and the answer is no.
So then we go into the second trial. The way it was in my mind is like there's a riddle. She's got 3 levers. She's got to pull the one for the right one. But as she's trying to answer the riddle, there's this like ceiling with like spikes coming down.
So I think it's so one lever will lower it on her, another lever will lower it on him, and then one lever will
stop
release it.
But they're both lowering as she's because he's like,
the more time she takes, they're both gonna die.
And she's like, just pick one. Well, she can't read. This is why you learn to read, kids.
So somebody told Amarantha that she was illiterate.
No, I don't think she did.
See, somebody told Amarantha that she was illiterate.
How do you know?
It's in the book.
I feel like she would make fun of her for that.
That's what she was doing. She was torturing her.
No, I would be like, bitch, you can't read. Like, I feel like she
can't read. It says in the book. I mean, I could find the passage, but it's taking.
We're gonna find it later.
But no, somebody told Amarantha that Feyre can't read, which is why the second trial.
Read was Tamlin and Lucian. So she goes up to the levers, and she notices when she goes to grab one, her tattoo that Reese's Pieces put on her kind of hurts. Mm-hmm. So she pulls back, goes for it again, it hurts. She's like, okay, maybe it's not that one. So she goes to the other one, it hurts. So she goes to the final one, it doesn't hurt. So she's like, screw it, must be this one. Has to decide because the thing's about to start killing Lucian. Pulls it, and ends up being the right one.
So the important part after the second one is like, she feels so, I guess, just dejected by the fact that she perceives herself, and now it's being called out by all of these fae. She's just a stupid, illiterate human. Yeah. And it really kind of starts breaking her down. Like, she's spent 2 months in prison, essentially. She's been tortured and beat, and mentally she's exhausted. Tamlin isn't helping her.
Yeah, because he kind of is just on mute. He's just sitting there.
She hasn't been able to be with him. Yeah. So right after the trial's done, Rhysand actually, presumably through the bargain, is able to speak to her and saying, like, hold your head up high, don't cry. wait till you get to your cell.
Because we know that he can't get into your mind. That's how he messes with people. He can manipulate the mind.
Tells her to hold it together until like she's out of the room.
Away. I do remember that.
And basically keeps her from breaking down in front of everybody. So whenever she goes back to her cell, like she starts sobbing,
crying, and you just feel so bad for this girl.
And then what happens?
He shows up.
He shows up and like licks her face. It's weird.
Yeah, he licks her face, and it's the weirdest thing ever.
But it stops her from crying, so I guess it works.
Well, if I got licked in the face, I was crying too. I'd be like, the hell. He gets the night before a trial. He takes her out one more time. But when they walk into there seems to be, it's a fairy on the ground. Is he from Summer Court? Mm-hmm. He's from Summer Court. He was trying to escape because at this point nobody's been allowed to leave the mountain until the trials are over. So all these High Lords and stuff were.
I think they're all being held captive regardless.
Yeah, they're all there. So
I mean, they've all been held captive
the whole time, the whole 50 times. So 50 years
for the 50 years, yeah.
Amarantha's like, read his mind. Who was he taking with them? Blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. And we don't know, but we can assume that there were other people involved. But Reese doesn't say that there was.
Yeah.
He pretty much is just like, nope. He acted alone. It was just him. It was all him. Blah blah blah. But we can kind of tell that they're implying that he's lying, that there were other people involved, there's a bigger plan, but he doesn't want to get other people in trouble because he knows that if he were to tell her that, then she would have all those people killed.
Right.
So she pretty much tells him, okay, we'll take care of it, like, in other words, like, just mess with his brain, I guess she wants, like, make him go mad.
Yeah.
But instead, he kills him.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like a mercy death, but nobody really realizes that, I think, except for Feyre, I think. So while they're doing this part, he doesn't drug her. He doesn't give her the wine this time. He pretty much is just like letting her be because I think he's still like grappling with things too.
Yeah.
And at some point in time, Tam is behind her somehow and is like hinting at her to like walk this way. Mm-hmm. So they both like sneak off. They start making out. They get caught, of course, by Rhysand. He finds them.
So Rhysand finds Tamlin and Feyre like embracing and basically sends Tamlin on his way. Uh-huh. And then he's telling Feyre, like, it's a good thing that I found you, not Amarantha. Then senses Amarantha coming, and then he kisses
start making out with me now. Yeah.
Feyre. Amarantha sees them kissing, so of course she's immediately jealous of Feyre.
And mad.
Yeah. Rhys is just like, I wanted to see what it was like.
Yeah.
I wanted to see what all the fuss was about.
I was a human. I didn't care what was going on.
And then he goes off with Amarantha to like kind of appease her.
So then her third trial comes. So they bring in these 3 fairies with hoods on their heads. Of course, it's Amarantha, and then there's Tamlin up in the front. The 3 fairies that have hoods on their heads, and she's like, you just gotta kill them.
Yep.
Stab them in the heart.
Each of these people in the heart.
Yeah, stab them in the
Takes
heart.
off the first hood.
Takes off the first hood. And
dude's pleading for his life.
And she doesn't want to do it, but then she does it. She kills him.
She's like, it's for the greater good. Second
girl does it. Doesn't want to.
She's like, it's fine.
Just go for it. She's like, I got you. Done it. So then third one comes, and she takes off the hood, and it's Tamlin.
It's fucking Tamlin.
This is when Feyre starts, like, remembering things, and she remembers, like, the stuff that she was able to eavesdrop on with Lucian and Tamlin, and realize that Tamlin has a heart made of stone, so if she stabs him, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
So she stabs him in the heart. She thinks that they're good and done with. Here comes... Everybody's, like, kind of at this point. The other fairies at this point are starting to get excited because they think, like, the curse can be lifted.
So, the deal was that, like, she'd complete these 3 trials and then she'll release everybody.
But what she didn't
say was when.
When. Yeah, so
didn't
that
say
was
when.
part.
Right. While... after she completes the 3rd task, Amarantha is enraged and starts torturing Feyre.
Right.
And she's like actively trying to kill her.
Right.
And she says to the other fae that are sitting there going like, hey, this isn't fair, like you said. And she's like, yeah, but I didn't say when.
Yeah.
And then she remembers like the answer to the riddle is love. And whenever she says the answer to the riddle is love, she breaks her neck.
Yeah. Yeah, so...
and kills her.
So,
but because of the bargain that Amarantha made, because she solved the riddle, everybody was immediately released from the...
So Tamlin kills Amarantha immediately. She's dead. Feyre's on the floor. She's dead, but you could still kind of see... She's still talking and seeing things, but through the eyes of Rhys, kind of, right? Mm-hmm. The High Lords are coming around her, and they're, like, giving her, like, drops. I don't know what these drops are coming from, but they're giving her like drops of their power, and they end up turning her into a high fae.
Yes.
That was kind of like they're like, oh, okay, you did this for us, we're gonna do this for you.
So for what she gave, they each gave a seed of their own power to basically revive her.
Now immortal, she's in high fae.
Well, she's high fae, so she has a high fae lifespan.
Yeah, so she's immortal now, right?
Fae are not immortal. She's not immortal. She can be killed.
Oh, with the ash thing.
Well, with the ash thing, but also like they have extended life. The only true immortal is the witches.
Anyways.
But the Fae just have extended lifespans.
Anyways.
So after Feyre is revived, for the most part, a majority of the Fae still stay within the mountain because a lot of them are having to travel pretty far. Mm-hmm. So Tamlin and Feyre actually end up staying the night under the mountain before they head back to the Spring Court.
Mm-hmm. But Rhys took off.
So before he leaves, like she's asleep under the mountain, and he, I guess through the bond, pulls her up to come talk.
Yeah, so they go and talk. And they talk, and he turns, he stumbles. I'm still hopped up on the fact that he stumbles. I don't know why they made it, like, because they made it seem like it was important. But we have to remember that he reminds her of, like, the bargain. Like, you still get to come with me 1 week out of the month. So don't forget about that. And that's where they kind of separate. He goes back to Night Court. She goes back with Tamlin.
To the Spring Court.
And... to
get on with their lives.
Yeah, because suppose they're going to be happily ever after, but I don't know.
That is ACOTAR.
ACOTAR, the first book.
That is the first book. So what are your theories?
Oh, something's going to happen when she goes visits him once a week. Like, that's going to be a thing. I feel like Tamlin and her love each other because they had to. Or like he did. Like, he felt like I had to love this girl because I was going to set my people free. But I don't think he really loves her.
I think he loves her.
I don't think that's his mate, is what I'm trying to say. Because remember, they have mates. So I don't think that she's his mate. I think that's going to come... I don't know. I don't think they're endgame. I think she's
you can always reject a mating bond.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't think they're endgame. I hope they're not.
And sometimes, I think he even says that, like, you don't necessarily marry your mate, especially at his station.
Yeah. Well, either way, I hope they're not endgame together because he's so boring. I'd rather her end up with, like, Lucian.
That's what I fucking love Lucian.
I know. I liked Lucian, and Rhys is morally gray. Like, he's one of those, like, he's good, but he's, like, one of those villains. That's what I do hope in the next books, which I'm going to assume because they're all different courts. A court of, this is what Mist and Fury next, so... I hope we're going to be at another court. Because I'm tired of spring. And I want to know where Alice is and her nephews. I feel like she talked a lot about her nephews for them not to play a part or come out somewhere later on in the books.
From the summer court?
Yeah. I want to know more about them. I feel like her sister not being glamored, that's going to come up. I feel like she's going to make her way into the Feyland somehow, some way. I don't know about the younger sister, but I know for sure that older sister, Nesta. I don't know about Elaine, but I know Nesta sums up with her, because why did she get glamored? Like, that was a thing. So, hopefully she comes into the Feyland and becomes, like, a badass somewhere. I hope her character changes, because she's kind of a bitch right now, but then she started having some redeeming qualities. So, I hope that happens, too. But all in all, I liked it a lot. Like, there's a lot of...
Yeah, so there's definitely some more character introductions coming up in a couple of books. You haven't even met some of my favorites. You have met a few of my favorites. But
and then I really want to see... I feel like the next story is going to go with the king because obviously Amaranth is gone. He's not going to be happy about that because I was like his general, I guess, or his right-hand person. So obviously he still doesn't want the tree to be in place. So that's pretty much going to be the overarching storyline. And now we have this Feyre, so see what happens. I want to see more point of views though too.
In the next book, it's still all from Feyre's point of view.
The next book is thicker.
Actually, I think there's two. There's 2 point of views in the next book.
Yeah. So, but I am interested.
I had to think about it.
I am interested to see her go to the Night Court once 1 week out of the month. And I hope she learns to read. Please learn to read. I want that to be a thing. Because
you're an English teacher?
No, because everybody needs to know how to read.
Because you're an English teacher?
Yes. Who can't say asks? What else do I want to see happen? I want Lucian to have revenge or like a FU moment to his brothers and his dad. I want that to happen because he deserves it. I am Team Lucian. I think he was a good comedic relief and funny.
Yeah. I liked his sass.
He's very sassy.
He was a fun character.
And I want to see Alice with her nephews.
Alice.
Mm-hmm.
Alice from the summer court.
But I don't have any big theories.
So when are you going to start the second book?
Probably tomorrow or today. Well, it's
you probably still do it tonight.
Probably. Probably.
Let me know whenever you get to the part where the thing happens and stuff.
The ending of this book was really good.
I really like, ACOTAR, for a lot of people, the first book isn't anybody's like favorite. I really like this book. I like the...
Who's everybody's favorite of this series? Like, what's the favorite? The second one? Third one?
Ooh.
Fourth one?
I can't say.
Which one's your favorite?
My favorite's the fourth one.
I'm not there yet.
No. But, I feel like sometimes ACOTAR gets like a bad rap just because, maybe because it's the first and they do so much with the next books. It's just like this is like a small like appetizer compared to like the rest of the world that they're building, so it doesn't get as much hype. But it's like this book is really good.
It is really good.
I love the Beauty and the Beast kind of retelling side of it, and Tamlin's character and Lucian's hilarious. I love him. And Feyre, like as her character starts to grow and like develop more, like I can see like where people wouldn't rank this one that high, but this one's probably one of my favorites.
Yeah, I like it. And then I like Alice too. Like she's just sassy and it's like really how like she's such a mama bear, in your face tough love girl, and I just love it. Yeah. So
that was our review of ACOTAR. I rated this book 5 out of 5.
Me too. This one is really good. I do like this book a lot. I don't give a lot of 5 out of 5s, but this one is one.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much for joining Bestie Book Chat.
Yay, we did it.
If you made it this far in the video, leave a
rose.
Leave a rose in the comments.
Yes. Oh my god,
and then join us next time whenever we cover Court of Mist and Fury.
Bye. Deuces. Bye.